Running Sentences presents a bonus episode short story, Trapped. A group of young men get challenged to raid a woman's locker room. Things take a weird turn when they find themselves trapped inside, though, even though it's supposed to be abandoned. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunray. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within the story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on and so forth is purely coincidental. Copyright 2026, Michael Hunray, all rights reserved. Brian, Jake, and Anne stood in the hallway of the gym. It was a connecting hallway that led to the locker room on the men's side, and then to the women's side, and then to the gym. To their right was the door to the women's locker room, and, well, they didn't really have an idea of what was in there. A dare from their friend Katie had them here, ready to run into this locker room, and then... Okay, what's the plan? Katie dared us to go into this locker room, Jake. We each get $100 if we do so. Brian answered Jake as he looked over to push the door leading to their destination. He held his hand out to touch the door, but quickly withdrew it, looking at his friends nervously as they returned that look. Why this place, though? Isn't this space, not really used anymore, guys? I think so, Ian, but, $100 to go into an abandoned room seems pretty easy. Just walk in, then walk out after a minute. Why wasn't this specified when we were talking to Katie, Jake? And where is she? Brian and Jake offered a shrug at Ian's questions. We go in, stand there for a little bit, and then leave. There's probably nothing in there. I'm sure they pulled out everything in lockers, all of that, out of there. So it's probably just an empty room. Why would they leave an empty room, Brian? Jake asked. Why does this college still have an empty gym that they barely ever use? Who knows, Jake? Let's just get this over with. Brian took another step towards the ladies' locker room door, putting his hand out there again so that he could push it open. Then he paused to look at his friends to make sure that they were actually following. No, this thing all feels weird, too weird. I think we should abandon it. We don't lose anything by not doing this, right, guys? Ian complained. If you want to be out $100, Ian, that's on you. We won't force you to go in, but we do need that money, though. Jake pointed out. Life is a lot easier with that kind of money, Brian said in agreement with Jake. Nope, I'm not doing this. This whole thing feels weird. Stepping away from the other two, Ian rushes over towards the door, leading to another hallway that would get him out of the exit of the building. There was actually 4 doors in this hallway, but yeah. At that door, he grabbed that handle and pushed, but the door does not move. It was one of those doors that could only be pulled, so he yanked at it some more. Something wrong over there, Ian? The door won't open, Jake. Maybe that's why Katie didn't come. This place is rumored to be cursed of some sort by a demon who likes to keep people here, or so I heard. Brian announced, all too nonchalantly. Why would you not tell us that earlier, Brian? Jake, it is just a story, and besides, I thought you were aware of it. It's a story that's been going around since we toured this place as high school seniors when we were going to come here for college, Brian said. We're trapped in here? Ian interrupted. Not likely, Ian. But look, there's probably an exit in one of the locker rooms. You can check the men's locker room door over there. As Jake said this and pointed towards another door at the other end of the hallway, Ian rushed that way. He got to the door, which had a pull handle on it, and pulled. It didn't budge. We are trapped in here. To respond to this, Brian pushed the ladies' locker room door, which swung open easily enough. I guess we have to go in here to get out, he said. There should be an exit outside in there, so yeah, stuff like an emergency exit is required by state and country laws, means it will very likely have one, Jake added. The door to the ladies' locker room swung open again as all three came in. A quiet echo of their steps along with the old-looking lockers greeted them in a fairly dark room. There were some spots in the ceiling where natural light could peek in thanks to the opaque skylights, though, because it was night out, the moon was high up in the night sky and filtered some light through into this space, which mostly seemed to consist of shadows being cast here and there. Why did they leave the lockers in here? Better question, Brian. Why did these lockers look like a maze? Jake asked. And as he was asking this, a click sounded, so Ian turned back at the door that they'd just come through, looking for a lock of some sort. He couldn't spot one in this darkness, though. I think that door just locked on its own, guys. Doors can't do that, Ian. Then someone is fucking with us, Brian, because that click sounded like it came from that door. To prove that it had, Ian went over to the door and tried to get it to open, pushing and pulling and every little thing he could think of to do it. It, like the other doors that he'd come across, didn't budge. He turned and hurried back to his friends. Is this place really cursed, Brian? No, Ian, it isn't. It's a fairy tale, a story. A loud creaking noise came from a nearby locker door, causing them all to jump and turn and face it. One of the doors on a nearby locker had opened to reveal its contents. There was a book bag sat along with some clothes, all of them looking rather old-fashioned from what they could see. That's weird, Jake said. Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything, Jake. It could just be a breeze that blew through. You felt a breeze come through here, Brian. The air feels rather moldy and stiff, and unable to do anything if you ask me. I have to agree with Ian. No breezes came through here, Brian. With a shake of his head at his two friends, Brian took a step towards the maze of lockers. Let's just get through all of this. No need to worry about it. The door's probably at the end, and we can leave. Brian took a few steps forward after saying this, as a little corridor of lockers came to a wall of them, and opened up, leading to the left and to the right. I'm not sure about you guys, but locker rooms aren't supposed to look like this, right? It's a cursed place, Jake. We should have known better than to come in here. $100 is so not worth any of this. And it's all Katie's fault, Ian announced. What if, Ian, Katie is the creature that's been haunting this place? Jake said as the idea came to his mind. Possible? But we've known Katie for a while now, ever since high school, so it seems unlikely. More likely she was possessed to bring in more victims here, Ian said, his glance going all over the place, looking more and more worried. Will you two stop with the theories about these things? Katie is our friend, and she wouldn't do that to us, Brian said in response. A bigger question, where would she come up with the money for this? Jake asked. The money to pay us for this bet if we succeeded, you mean? Brian had taken a step to his right and he paused at what Ian had said. She is just as poor as we are. Which means, Brian, that something is up. Fine. Something is up, Jake. Let's just get out of here, Brian said, rather disappointed and gruffly. With Brian leading the way, the two followed and started through the maze of lockers. Their first turn to the right was a short one, and a quick turn to the left came upon them. All along the way there were open lockers, some with old clothes still inside. Others of these lockers had newer, more modern clothes. Another turn in this maze of lockers to the left forced them to stop for a moment as a fog was slowly drifting in from the ground covering it. Why did we stop, Brian? There is a fog here, like a dry ice fog, since it feels so cold. It caught me off guard, Ian, but let's keep going. Man, this place is getting weirder and weirder. Ian found himself shaking his head yes in agreement with Jake's latest comment as the trio carried on. Another few twists and turns walking through a lane of lockers, which were so oddly organized, and then they all came to a stop again. See? Easy. There's a door right there. With confidence after saying this, Brian marched the long row of lockers that came to a stop in a wall. It split off once again to the right, leading off with more metal structures headed deeper into this room. In front of them, though, was the exit door, which Brian reached for. Hey! What's wrong, Brian? Jake asked. This is a painting. This door isn't real, Brian complained. Who paints a door on a wall? Isn't that against safety regulations or something? As if to answer the Anne's question, a soft giggle floated through the air. It came from behind them, and each turned slowly to see that nothing was there. What was that? A giggle, Brian? I heard and know that, Jake. I'm asking where it came from. And who it came from, Brian? Yeah, that too, Ian. Ghosts and demons or creatures who can kill humans that are, supernatural? Does it really matter what they are? We already know that there's something. As Jake said this, the doors in the locker rooms began to bang open or closed, slamming into their locks or against other doors with quite a bit of force. There was a lot of noise bouncing about the room as the trio looked to one another and tried to make sure they weren't near any of the locker doors. A pair of bloomers even flew past at one moment, though each of them would duck out of the way and not get hit by it. We run. Get the fuck out of here. Everyone is all on their own. As Brian ordered this, they all rushed as a crash of locker doors, old and sometimes new-looking clothes flew at them, and the hollow giggle followed them about. They went left, right, straight, in any direction that the lockers would allow them to go, but it never seemed to end. Come on, boys. It's only a girl's locker room. It isn't that scary, and you're so close to getting out. The latest twist through the maze dumped them into a circled space surrounded by the lockers. All three, exhausted, dropped to the floor into the center of this space. None of them looked up as more clothes flew at them, piling up and making them disappear under weight as more and more keep crashing seemingly out of nowhere. Even a heavy metal locker smashed into the piles, followed by another one. Oh, you're so close. The exit is right there. All you had to do was try. A hand clawed its way from the piles, reaching for freedom, just getting out of it. This was followed by another hand, reaching for that freedom, as the onslaught continued, the glow of an exit sign just a few feet away. The end of the bonus episode, short story, Trapped. Thank you for listening.